Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
Americans could experience an increase in oil prices in the near future. Good evening, I'm Justin Holbrook. Thanks for joining us. For the first time in 8 years, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries wants to limit oil production, effectively boosting gas prices. The OPEC nations reached this preliminary accord a few hours ago. They reached this agreement despite lingering feuds between regional rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran. The price of crude oil has fallen sharply since mid-2014 when it was over $100 a barrel and dropped below $30 at the start of this year. Stay tuned later in the show to see how this agreement is affecting U.S. stocks. Ohio's 94th district seat is up for grabs. Last night, Jay Edwards and Sarah Grace faced off in the first debate for the seat. The candidates agreed on a majority of topics, both expressing their desires for bipartisanship and cooperation in Columbus. The Town Hall Debate Forum was held at Ohio University's Walter Hall. The seat is currently held by Debbie Phillips. A road change is in the works at Jeff Hill. Jeff Hill is being turned into a two-lane road. The double yellow lines were painted early in the day on Wednesday, but the side of the street that would allow cars to drive down the hill is currently blocked off. We reached out to Mayor's office and the Public Works Department, but did not receive a response. Stick with us at WOUB as we'll update you as we find out more. Also be sure to reach out on Twitter if you have any information. And vote in our poll about whether or not you think making Jeff Hill a two-lane road is a good idea. The scope of the West Union Street project is expanding to include both sides of the street. During Monday's Athens City Council meeting, Mayor Steve Patterson shared a new concept drawing for the proposal. Athens City Administration said this expansion will more than double the estimated cost for the project. The new estimated layout has a price tag of $160,000 compared to the original cost of $75,000. An Ohio University event will feature a conversation on how transgender individuals can embrace their appearance in a safe and supportive environment. Dine and Discuss will be hosted by the LGBT Center. The event hopes to encourage those to look at their bodies in a positive way.
Well, a lot of people come to college with ideas about bodies and whatnot. I think this discussion is like a space for people to learn more about bodies and positivity, and there's a lot of negativity around bodies.
The event will be held tomorrow at noon at the LGBT Center in Baker. The number of votes the Senate Appropriations Commission can cast could be reduced. The Ohio University Student Senate is considering lowering the number of votes from 10 to 2. This change would bring the commission in line with the number of votes other commissions have. If passed, only 2 members of the commission would be allowed to attend each meeting. The Senate will vote on a total of 10 resolutions and also hear from President Roderick McDavis. Athens County Sheriff's Lieutenant Aaron Maynard is being named acting director of Athens County 911, while Director Dan Pfeiffer is on medical leave. The appointment was made on Tuesday by the county commissioners. Pfeiffer has been 911 director since May 2013.
Well, temperatures are quickly dropping out there as some rain begins to move its way into the area. Good evening and welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm Allison Gens. Right now in Athens, it's 60 degrees. We do have those overcast and some of that rain that's beginning to work its way through into our region. Our winds are calm northeast at 3 miles per hour. Looking around the region, temperatures are dropping into the upper 50s and a few in the lower 60s. We have 58 in Cambridge, 59 in New Lexington, 61 in Marietta, 62 in Ripley, and a little warmer, 63 in Ironton. Now, as I said, that rain is beginning to move its way in, and it's going to persist through overnight. We have at 9 p.m. 58 degrees with the showers likely, but it does start to ebb off near midnight and into 3 a.m. We'll start to see that chance of showers lessening, but that might not be the end of the showers that we'll be seeing for the past few days, and I'll have a little bit more on that in my extended forecast later in the show.
Alleged serial killer Sean Great says he can't remember the name of his first victim. According to the Marion County Sheriff, Great thinks the woman's name was Diane or Dana, but is unsure. Great is linked to the slayings of at least 4 women. He has pleaded not guilty to initial charges in Ashland. Members of the U.S. Justice Department could be heading to Ohio soon. The families of 13-year-old Tyree King and 23-year-old Henry Green have renewed their request for independent investigations into the 2 fatal shootings. Columbus City Council President Zach Klein emailed the department and said the council would welcome its participation. A lawyer for the families says witnesses have contradicted police accounts, resulting in the protests around the community. Governor John Kasich says he will veto all renewable energy mandates. The standards originally said electricity utilities must meet annual benchmarks and should help customers find ways to reduce energy use. The standards went into effect in 2008. However, Kasich signed a measure placing a 2-year freeze on the standards 2 years ago. State lawmakers began hearings to extend the current freeze for an additional 3 years. Another bill is being discussed that would freeze the requirements indefinitely. Austin Milliken is a 17-year-old senior who was diagnosed with arteriovenous malformation in 2009, and September is AVM Awareness Month. The Wellston Rocket football team honored their football manager at their home game against Alexander last Friday. Alexander presented him with a $200 check, and Wellston raised over $3,000 this month. Davon Newell, a senior wide receiver on the team, talks about the community's support.
We're all his army. If he needs anything, he can call each and every one of us on the team or in school or just in the community.
Austin's full story will air on Gridiron Glory Friday night at 11:30 p.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m. President Obama says Congress has made a mistake overriding his veto. We'll tell you why the president believes that the new rules could cause strain between countries. And a shooting in South Carolina elementary school has left 2 students and a teacher injured. The latest on the shooting suspect. Coming up after the break, these stories and more when Newswatch returns.
University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities, and of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous. Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
Members of Congress are saying no to President Obama. Both the House and the Senate overturned the president's veto of a bill to give victims and families of the 9/11 terrorist attacks the legal right to sue Saudi Arabia for any role in the plot. The president vetoed the bill, citing Saudi Arabia is a key ally and possibly opening the door to U.S. suites. It's the first time an Obama veto has been overturned in his 8 years in office. The U.S. and Iraq have agreed a plan to send additional American troops overseas. Approximately 600 more U.S. troops will be sent to Iraq in the coming days. This will be to help Iraqi forces retake Mosul from ISIS. A U.S. defense official says the plan has been discussed for weeks, but President Obama and the Iraqi Prime Minister have only now agreed on the details. According to officials, this is expected to be the final addition of U.S. military troops in Iraq. Currently, there are just over 4,500 U.S. troops in Iraq. Dutch officials say the missile system that shot down Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 came from Russia and was returned to Russia. Previously, Russia has repeatedly denied any involvement. They also say it was a Buk missile that was launched in territory that was controlled by pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine. The plane was shot down 2 years ago. All 298 people on board were killed, mostly Dutch citizens. The investigation is still ongoing. A teacher and 2 children were shot at Townville Elementary School in South Carolina today. The 3 victims do not have life-threatening injuries. Authorities say are also investigating a nearby death. They believe to be linked to the school shooting. The suspect, a teenager, is in police custody. Earlier, deputies were seen on the roof of the school with their weapons drawn. Parents, emergency personnel, and law enforcement flocked to the school this afternoon.
I just pray for their families. I pray for those kids. I thank God it wasn't mine, but I feel so bad for them. And I'm just going to pray that they're okay. And I don't know if they were my daughter's classmates or if they're somebody I knew. I don't know. I just feel so bad.
Townville Elementary is about 110 miles northeast of Atlanta and has 286 students in pre-kindergarten, to the 6th grade. A 9-year-old girl gave an emotional speech at City Council meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, she's talking about why she felt it was so important to speak out about the shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. Scott Wickersham reports.
We are black people and we shouldn't have to feel like this.
9-year-old Ziana Oliphant spoke from her heart at last night's City Council meeting at a time when adults were shouting in anger. Her tears cut through the noise.
It kind of makes me sad and angry.
Today she told us why she wanted to talk to Mayor Jennifer Roberts after seeing and hearing the news about another African American killed by police.
That's important to me, and I just want her to know how I feel about all of this that's going on in the world. I felt sad, and what I thought was like it was no reason for them to do anything to him.
But she and her mother say their message is certainly not one of anger toward police.
This is not something that we have any hatred in our hearts in regards to the police officers. We just hate the unfairness in our country.
Ziana is a cheerleader in a football league coached by CMPD officers. Her mother, Precious, says the coaches are doing great things for these young boys and girls.
They are lifting them up. They are teaching them discipline, hard work, and dedication.
They just want more conversation about police shootings. And sadly, Precious says it shouldn't take another death to keep that conversation going.
It's such a shame that it takes such a tragedy to bring the people together. You know, it's all about love here.
Precious says she was inspired by her own daughter speaking to City Council last night. She said it was important for City Council members to also see how children are being affected. And repairs to the city continue to Charlotte businesses. Many buildings were ransacked during last week's protest following the police shooting of Keith Scott. The manager of the Hyatt House on East Trade Street estimates the damages have already cost them more than $100,000. On Tuesday, code enforcement inspectors announced they are rushing emergency repairs. On Wall Street today, OPEC's agreement to limit crude oil production boosted stocks after a choppy morning. Here's a look at stocks of local interest. A Detroit man's story goes viral after an Ohio trooper goes above and beyond to help him. That story's still ahead.
Chances of rain showers continue for the next few days, bringing you on some cooler temperatures. I'll tell you what to expect. That's coming up after the break on Newswatch.
Professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open. You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us. Ohio University
University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities, and of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
A new tropical storm has formed in the Atlantic. Tropical Storm Matthew is churning south of the eastern United States. The storm is producing 60-mile-per-hour winds and has tropical storm warnings in effect for St. Lucia and Barbados. The track has it turning toward Cuba over the weekend, possibly developing into a hurricane. Let's go over to Allison with the weather. Allison, will the winds from this storm make their way all the way up here?
Well, Justin, it seems like that storm's mostly going to stay off along the East Coast. We don't see anything in our forecast, at least right now, to show that those tropical storm winds are going to make its way to Athens. But right now in Athens, we do have a low pressure system working its way through, and that's dropping our temperatures right now at 60 degrees and bringing us some rain that's starting to begin to cross its way through the region right now. Our winds are calm right now, northeast 3 miles per hour, and around the region, those temperatures dropping into the upper 50s and low 60s. We have 58 in Newark, 61 in Marietta, and 62 in Ripley. Our almanac today is showing that we were on a little bit above our normal temperature, 76 degrees. We're normally at 73, but those temperatures quickly dropped today with that approach of that cold front moving its way in. And our low temperature was actually a lot lower than what we normally expect for this time of year. So we kind of had two different extremes with our temperatures today as we went throughout our day, and then our sunset set just a little bit after our show this evening. Now our precipcast for tonight is showing that low pressure system, that cold front, beginning to work its way into our region and beginning to work its way out as well. That came down from the Great Lakes region, and it's going to continue to work its way through tomorrow. We'll still see that low pressure remaining and potentially is going to linger around as well into our next day after that as well. Now, temperatures overnight tonight dropping into the mid to low 50s. We have 53 in Newark, 54 in Cambridge, 52 in New Lexington, 54 in Ripley, and we do have that chance of rain and rain showers likely across the region through our overnight hours. Tomorrow, not warming up as much as we saw today. We have temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s. We have 69 in Cambridge, 71 in Marietta, 70 here in Athens, 67 in Jackson, and 68 in Ironton, and that chance of showers persists again throughout the day. Now tonight, our low will be 53 degrees with showers likely, and we could see a possible thunderstorm in our later evening hours with winds calm throughout the night. Now tomorrow morning at the bus stop, 54 degrees as your temperature, and that chance of showers still persisting. So make sure that when you send your kids off to the bus stop, they have their umbrella, they have their raincoat, because there is that chance of rain at the bus stop in the morning. Now tomorrow warming up to 70 degrees, showers throughout the day with some possible thunderstorms in the afternoon. And you can see that broken down on our hour by hour. That chance of showers will look to increase as we head into our afternoon hours, and your extended forecast shows chances of rain persist into Saturday and with cooler temperatures, but they begin to warm back up by next week.
Thanks, Allison. A heartbroken man was trying to get to his family after learning that his little sister had died. That's when an Ohio trooper went above and beyond to drive the man more than 100 miles to make sure he got there. Jason Colthrop reports.
I got a phone call around 3 o'clock in the morning.
The phone call Sunday morning was from home. Mark Ross's 15-year-old sister Eliza had been killed in a car accident.
We call her Lala. She was amazing.
So Mark and a friend immediately started back for Michigan. Just into Ohio, they got pulled over. His friend had an outstanding warrant and was taken into custody and the car towed. Then an amazing thing happened. Ohio Sergeant David Robinson offered to help get Mark home.
He asked me, like, man, come on, I'll just take you, man. You got to get to your family, get to your mother. You know, my mother was really depressed at that point. And so I just took out my pride and I got in the car with him.
It was an emotional 100-plus miles before Robinson stopped. But before they parted ways,
as I was getting out the car, he just reached over and was like, Mark, can I pray for you? I'm like, sure, go ahead, I need it. And he said one of the most meaningful, heartfelt prayers, you know, and it really touched me. Like, he made me really see a light that I already saw, but, you know, there's just so much stuff going on around the world right now, but he really opened up a door for me, and I'm so humbly grateful for that officer.
That's when they took this photo that's now been shared more than 100,000 times, along with Mark's message.
I had no intentions on this going as viral and making the changes and the groundbreaking revelations that all cops are not bad cops.
He hopes his experience can calm some of the unrest in this country, but for now, he's focused on laying his little sister to rest.
I really think I gained a brother and an angel at the same time.
The Ross family has invited Officer Robinson to the funeral, and the officer has accepted. Funeral plans have not been arranged, but now let's go over to Matt Cudahy for sports.
Thanks, Justin. Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Indians were both on the road last night coming off big wins. Could they keep the good mojo going? And then earlier today, the Miami Marlins held an emotional memorial in Little Havana for the late Jose Fernandez. It's all up next on Newswatch. But first, stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities. And of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Welcome back. I am Matt Cudahy. We'll start with the most current event. The OU Bobcats baseball team is out at Wren Stadium right now for their annual Wren Fest. The event, which is free to attend, features inflatables, giveaways, and games. And if you're a student, you have a chance to go home with some free goodies as well. The first 500 students in attendance will walk away with a free pair of sunglasses, and on top of that, one student will win $500 in a raffle. This will give you a great chance to get an early season look at this year's Bobcat squad, a team that is only 2 years removed from their last MAC championship. Now checking out some MLB action last night, the AL Central champion Cleveland Indians were in Detroit, but without the services of Jason Kipnis, Jose Ramirez, Mike Napoli, and Francisco Lindor. And it showed. Justin Verlander struck out a season-high 12 batters, helping the Tigers grab a 12-0 win. Miguel Cabrera hit a home run and drove in 5 RBIs, all before the third inning. The Indians will have a chance for revenge tonight. Zach McAllister will be on the mound for Cleveland, while rookie sensation Michael Fulmer will oppose him for Detroit. First pitch is 7 p.m. 2 nights ago, the Cincinnati Reds exploded for 15 runs. Could they provide an encore? Not so much. The Reds took a beating from the St. Louis Cardinals last night, falling by a score of 12-5. Cardinals shortstop Aledmi Diaz was back in the lineup, and that was bad news for the Reds. In the 4th inning, he stepped up with the bases loaded and smashed one to left center field, clearing the fence for a grand slam, giving the Cardinals the lead once and for all. Game 3 of the 4-game series is tonight at 8:15 with Desclafani going for the Reds and Leake for the Cardinals. After last night, the National League wildcard standings have not budged because the top 3 teams went home with a victory. The Cardinals still sit only a game back to the San Francisco Giants for that second wildcard spot, while the New York Mets have a game-and-a-half cushion on top. Now in the American League, after their win against Cleveland last night and Baltimore falling to the Blue Jays, the Detroit Tigers are now only a game back of that final wildcard slot. With Toronto and Baltimore duking it out, the Tigers will have another chance tonight to chip away at that deficit. The memorial for Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez, who died over the weekend in a boating accident, was held earlier today at Marlins Park in the Miami neighborhood of Little Havana. Marlins players were joined by scores of Marlins fans as the vehicular procession took place. The procession started its route at 2:16 p.m. out of respect for Fernandez as he wore the number 16. If you have the Texans defense on your fantasy team, you might want to think about benching them as reigning Defensive Player of the Year. J.J. Watt is now out for the time being with a injury there to the back. He's been placed on injured reserve. Watt, who finished with 17.5 sacks a year ago, has re-injured the disc he had surgically repaired on July 22nd of this year. An exact timetable for his return is still undetermined. And quickly before I go, let's hop in the time machine and check out what happened today in history in sports. Back in 1920, 8 White Sox players were indicted for throwing the 1919 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. The event, known as the Black Sox Scandal, saw 6 players receive lifetime bans from Major League Baseball, which has held up to this day. And quickly, being a Mets fan and being from New York, I want to give a quick shout out to Tim Tebow for hitting a home run on the first pitch he saw in the first professional game that he's played in. Let's hope there are more to come. I'm Matt Cuddy, and that's it for sports. Back to you, Justin.
Pretty good hit for Tebow right there, Matt. Thanks. A proposal gone wrong at Yankee Stadium was caught on live television Tuesday night. The man was on one knee when he dropped the engagement ring. The massive screen in center field showed everyone around him looking for the ring. Several agonizing moments later, the crowd erupted in cheers, and the ring was finally found. And from the looks of it, she said yes. Now let's go over to Allison for one last look at weather.
Thanks, Justin. Tonight, 53 degrees for your low, with showers likely and a possible thunderstorm this evening. Tomorrow, 70 degrees for your high, with showers likely throughout the day, and you might see some more thunderstorms as we head into our afternoon hours with calm winds throughout the day. Now your extended forecast shows that we have 70 degrees again on Friday with that chance of rain, and then another chance of afternoon rain for Saturday. Temperatures a little bit cooler in the 70s, but they seem to return to the 80s as we head into next week.
Thanks, Allison. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Holbrook. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB, and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities, and of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.